Welcome to Live South Florida, the ultimate channel for everything you need to know about life in South Florida. Whether it's lifestyle tips, real estate market updates, or insider insights, we've got it all right here. I'm Jonathan, and today we're diving into a topic that's sparking a lot of curiosity. What does Donald Trump's return to the White House mean for Florida's real estate market? Could this be a game changer for home buyers, investors, or those thinking about making the move to South Florida? Stick around because we're breaking down how his policy could shape your real estate plans. Now, regardless of how you feel about Trump becoming the 47th president, this video is purely educational. We're focused on giving you a clear, unbiased view of how his policies might impact Florida's real estate market so you can make the best decisions for yourself. And before we jump in, hit that subscribe button so you never miss an update from Live South Florida, and make sure to like this video and hit that thumbs up. We're here to make sure that you're in the know, whether you're relocating, investing, or just curious about the hottest real estate market in the country. Let's go ahead and get started. All right, let's set the stage and look at the big picture. So, with Donald Trump stepping back into the Oval Office as the 47th president and Republicans now holding the Senate and keeping control of the House, we're looking at some real potential for big shifts in policy. Now, Florida's real estate market is already one of the busiest in the country. People are flocking here for the warm weather, no state income tax, and a strong job market. It's no wonder everyone's eyeing properties here. But it's not all sunshine and beach days. We've got some challenges too, like sky-high home prices, crazy insurance costs, and a housing supply that just can't keep up with demand. It's a unique market with a lot of factors in play, from those high-end luxury condos in Miami to more affordable housing options in Tampa. With Trump back in office, his agenda could really shake things up, and that's likely to bring a mix of opportunities and challenges to the market. Whether you're interested in those multi-million-dollar beachfront properties or you're more focused on finding a solid starter home, his policies are going to have an impact across the board. So let's dive into what that might look like for each part of the market. First things first, let's talk interest rates. Trump's been pretty vocal about wanting to drop mortgage rates, ideally down to around 3%, saying it'd make buying a home way more affordable for a lot of Americans. But here's the thing, the president doesn't actually get to decide mortgage rates. That's the Federal Reserve's job, and they're the ones who set the federal funds rate. Now, if Trump pushes for policies that indirectly help bring rates down, like something called quantitative easing, then yeah, it could make mortgages cheaper for buyers. In fact, Craig Studnicki, who's a CEO over at ISG World in Miami, said that if rates dip below 6%, we might see a real estate boom in Florida. Picture thousands of new buyers jumping into the markets like Orlando and Fort Lauderdale. It'd be a frenzy. But there's a flip side. If Trump's other policies like tariffs or stricter immigration rules end up pushing inflation higher, then the Fed might actually keep rates up to try and keep that in check. And that could make it even tougher for Florida's middle-income buyers who are already feeling the pinch with higher prices, especially in hot spots like Miami-Dade. So sure, lower rates would be a huge win if they actually happen, but there's a lot more at play here than just presidential plans. Rates are influenced by a ton of factors beyond Trump's control, so it's worth keeping an eye on things rather than banking on rates dropping for sure. Next up, let's talk about Trump's plan to cut regulations and open up more federal land for housing. He's been saying that all of these building rules and regulations are a huge part of why homes are so expensive, estimating that they add up to about 30% of the cost of a new home. His idea? Slash a bunch of these regulations and create what he's calling ultra-low tax and regulation zones where developers can build more affordable homes without so much red tape. Now, some experts like the National Association of Home Builders think Trump might be overshooting with that 30% number. More like 7 to 10% for most projects, they say. But even a little deregulation could help speed things up and make it easier for builders to keep up with demand, especially in a high demand market like Florida. Fewer hoops to jump through means they can get homes up faster and hopefully cheaper, which would be great for buyers. Then there's a federal land idea. Trump wants to open up big stretches of government-owned land for housing developments, creating zones that are ultra low on taxes and rules to really drive down costs. But here's the kicker. Most of the federal land is out west or in rural spots that aren't exactly prime for people who want to be near the action in cities like Tampa, Miami, or Orlando. In other words, it's not necessarily solving the problem of affordable housing where people actually need it. In Florida, where every square inch of land seems to be in high demand, this might not make a huge difference unless we see the state also opening up some land closer to popular cities. That said, it could work out for some spots in North Florida or the Panhandle where land's a bit more available. If they create affordable housing zones near growing towns, it might attract new communities, especially if they're close to jobs and infrastructure. So while opening up land is a cool idea, its real impact will depend a lot on where the land actually is. For now, it's something to watch, but unless we see these zones popping up close to places where people want to be, like South Florida's big cities, this idea might stay more of a what if than a big game changer. All right, let's get into one of Trump's most talked about policies, mass deportation. Trump, along with his VP JD Vance, is saying that by deporting undocumented immigrants, we could lower housing costs because it would reduce demand. Basically, fewer people needing places to live. But here's where it gets tricky. A huge number of workers in Florida's construction industry are immigrants, and a lot of them are undocumented. Think about it, especially in states like Florida where there's constant building going on. Immigrants are a major part of the workforce making that happen. According to the National Immigration Forum, around 1/3 of Florida's construction workers are foreign-born, and a good chunk of them don't have legal status. If mass deportations were to take a big part of this workforce away, it could hit the construction industry hard. Imagine construction sites across Florida with way fewer workers. It's not just the projects that would slow down, the cost of building would shoot up too. Fewer people working means that labor is in higher demand, and that's going to drive wages up. And in real estate, where everything from single-family homes to luxury condos depend on a steady supply of workers, those higher labor costs get passed on to buyers. So what would this look like in Florida's real estate market? You'd likely see delays on new housing developments, which would keep inventory low and prices high. Even affordable housing projects in smaller cities that are already stretched thin could face setbacks. And then there's the high-end market in places like Miami where luxury condos are a big draw. These projects would take longer and cost more too. Experts are warning that if this policy goes through, it might do the opposite of what it's intended for. Instead of making housing cheaper, it could actually push prices up because it becomes harder and pricier to build anything new. So while Trump's plan aims to lower housing demand, the flip side is that it could cause some serious issues in the building supply chain, which means costs stay high for everyone looking to buy. Let's talk about tariffs because this is another big one. Trump's pushing for new tariffs on imports, especially from places like China, and the idea here is to get more stuff made in America. Sure, that could be great for some industries, but for real estate and construction, especially in Florida, it could make things more expensive to build. Think about it. Stuff like steel, lumber, and even appliances are often imported because it's cheaper that way. But if new tariffs get slapped on, suddenly those materials cost a lot more. And here's the thing, Florida's construction industry is already dealing with high cost. Between crazy insurance premiums, rising prices on supplies, and the constant repairs from hurricane damage, construction costs are through the roof even without tariffs. Now, if tariffs drive up the cost of materials, builders aren't just going to eat those extra costs, they're likely to pass them on to the buyers. So instead of getting more affordable homes out of this, we could end up with pricier ones. And in Florida, where demand for homes is already sky high, that's a tough pill to swallow. So even though Trump's policies might make it easier to build by opening up more land or cutting some regulations, if materials are getting more expensive, it kind of balances out. Those higher building costs might end up making homes even less affordable, which isn't exactly what buyers are hoping for. It's a bit of a catch-22. More housing supply could come in, but prices might stay up because building itself is so costly. All right, let's get into a big Florida specific issue, climate and insurance. Living in Florida means dealing with a lot of sun, but also a lot of storms. In the past few years, we've seen an increase in extreme weather from hurricanes to flooding, and that's making insurance a huge expense for homeowners. Just this year alone, hurricanes like Milton and Helene caused billions and billions of dollars in damage, and as these storms get stronger and more frequent, insurance premiums are shooting up. Here's the deal. Trump's policies don't really tackle Florida's climate risk directly, so we're not seeing much change there. But as more people keep moving here, these rising insurance costs are something every buyer needs to keep in mind. Whether you're a retiree looking for that sunny escape on a fixed income, or a first-time buyer on a tight budget, these premiums can really add up and make it tougher to afford a home in high-risk areas. For example, in some coastal spots or areas prone to flooding, insurance can be one of the biggest parts of your housing expenses, right alongside your mortgage. So if you're eyeing a place in Florida, don't just look at the sticker price on the home, think about what you'll be paying each year in insurance. Because unfortunately, those premiums aren't getting any cheaper, especially in areas that get hit hard by storms. It's one of those hidden costs that can really impact affordability, especially if you're on a budget or trying to stretch your dollars in retirement. So, while Florida has a lot to offer, make sure to factor in the reality of insurance costs if you're thinking about buying here. It's one thing to love the beach, but it's another to afford living by it with these rising premiums. So the big question, is now really the time to pack up and move to Florida? I mean, we all know the lifestyle here is hard to beat. You've got warm weather year-round, no state income tax, and plenty of beaches to go around. For folks coming from high-tax states, it feels like a dream. But there are some big things to think about before making that leap. Let's be real, prices are high, insurance premiums are climbing, and the market's constantly shifting. So if you're thinking about moving here, it's not as simple as just picking out a house with a pool and calling it a day. A move to Florida these days definitely needs more careful planning. Now, if you've got a bit of a flexible budget or you're coming in with solid equity from selling a home somewhere else, you could be in a good spot to buy. You'll have some breathing room to handle those extra costs and still enjoy the benefits of living here. But if you're on a tight budget, it's a different story. You'll want to really weigh these costs, the high home prices, insurance, and other expenses against the perks of moving here. Trump's policies might bring in more jobs and help boost growth, which could make things look a little brighter, but affordability is still a big question mark. The Florida market isn't exactly cheap, and with all of the hidden costs, it's easy for things to add up fast. So if you're thinking of making the move, make sure that you're factoring in everything from insurance costs to everyday expenses and not just focusing on the tax benefits or warm weather. So at the end of the day, whether or not now's the right time to buy in Florida really comes down to your budget and how ready you are to roll with some ups and downs. If interest rates drop and there's a wave of new homes being built, we could see some great opportunities pop up. That might mean lower monthly payments and more choices, which is also a win for buyers. But Florida's market isn't exactly a walk in the park. It's competitive, it's fast moving, and there's some challenges to consider. Building costs are high, insurance rates are through the roof thanks to hurricanes and rising sea levels, and inflation could keep pushing prices up. So even with Trump's policies potentially shaking things up, we're likely to see a lot of competition and complexity sticking around. In other words, if you're ready to dive in and you've got some flexibility, there's still a lot of potential in the Florida market. But be prepared to navigate a few bumps along the way and keep an eye on how these policies might shift things over the next few years. So what's the bottom line? Trump being back in office definitely shakes up things in Florida's real estate market. On one hand, his plan to cut red tape and open up more land could make it easier to build new homes, which is great for buyers. But on the flip side, there are some big challenges like tariffs driving up costs, possible labor shortages, and those rising insurance premiums that are hard to ignore. If you're thinking about moving to South Florida, just know that this market is one of the strongest and most popular in the country, but it's all about staying informed and being smart with your decisions. Thanks for hanging out with us. If you're into this kind of content, don't forget to hit that subscribe button, give this video a thumbs up, and tap that notification bell so you never miss an update. Whether you're looking to buy, invest, or just curious about the Florida lifestyle, we've got all of the insights that you need. I'll see you in the next video.